The very forests of Lordaeron whispered the name Arthas.
Often the most terrifying villains were simply good people who tried to do the right thing. Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're exploring the origins of the iconic hero-turned-villain from Warcraft, Arthas.
My child, I watched with pride as you grew into a weapon of righteousness.
Before we begin, be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and click on the links in the description to vote on upcoming content. Arthas was introduced in Warcraft 3, where players got to take full control of his descent into villainy. His story was continued in the World of Warcraft expansion, Wrath of the Lich King, where players finally got to fight the Lich King instead of just as him. But in order to understand his full origin story and some of the interesting tidbits, look no further than the novel Arthas Rise of the Lich King by Christie Golden. Arthas Menethil was born to King Terenas II of Lordaeron. As a boy, he met the future King of Stormwind, Varian Wrynn, as the child fled the orcish horde that ravaged his kingdom and murdered his father. Varian became one of Arthas' first friends, and the two crown princes would often spar together, although Arthas was considerably less adept, as he had never had a teacher up until that point.
Muradin Bronzebeard, is that you?
Damn, boy. I never imagined that you'd be the one to come to our rescue.
Arthas would soon get a fighting instructor in the dwarf Muradin Bronzebeard, and a mentor in the ways of the light with Uther the Lightbringer. Many years later, Arthur would betray both of these mentors, but until that point, they were highly impressed with his progress. When he was 9, Arthas received a beautiful horse that he dubbed Invincible. He would develop a strong bond with this horse that would endure even after death. At age 19, while riding on Invincible in the middle of a blizzard, an accident occurred and the two wiped out. Invincible had broken both of his front legs, and knowing they were way too far from help, Arthas cried and stabbed his beloved steed in the heart to end its suffering. This moment spurred Arthas to become a paladin, and not long after this moment, he would be inducted into the Order of the Silver Hand. Another strong bond that Arthas developed in his youth was with the mage Jaina Proudmoore. Before the events of Warcraft 3, these two became fast friends and even lovers. In fact, a love triangle developed between the two and Arthas' future enemy, Kael'thas Sunstrider. However, while Jaina and Arthas cared for each other deeply, Arthas abruptly ended the relationship one day so that Jaina could focus on her studies and the young prince could prepare to become a paladin and learn how to be a better ruler.
You will show restraint when exercising your great power.
Uther knighted Arthas along with several other famous paladins, including Gavinrad the Dire, who would give Arthas the great hammer Light's Vengeance. Gavinrad would eventually be slain by Arthas and Tyrion Fordring, the man who would be responsible for the Lich King's downfall many years later. Also present was Jaina, who Arthas had not seen in many years, and King Varian, who sparred with Arthas for old time's sake. It would be the last time the two friends would ever see each other, though. Arthas met many other future Warcraft characters in his early years, including the future Warchief Thrall, who at the time was a prize gladiator at Durnhold Keep. While staying at the keep, Arthas also met Teretha, Thrall's first real friend and the woman who helped the orcs escape enslavement. Arthas had grown to be a kind, courageous, but also vindictive and stubborn individual. This combination of traits would turn this noble warrior into a Death Knight and finally the Lich King. As his kingdom was suffering from the plague of undeath, Arthas had to make the tough choice to purge the city of Stratholme in order to stop the spread of the plague. Uther and Jaina, his two closest friends, refused his orders and abandoned him at his most vulnerable moment.
Jaina?
I'm sorry, Arthas. I can't watch you do this.
Without their calming influence, Arthas descends further into madness. This path eventually led him to Northrend and the legendary runeblade Frostmourne.
I would gladly bear any curse to save my homeland.
Arthas and his old mentor Muradin seek out and find Frostmourne, but the sword's release from its prison seemingly kills Muradin. Arthas continues on his quest, undeterred by the apparent death of one of his oldest friends, and manages to kill Mal'Ganis, the demon behind the plague. In the following weeks and months, though, Arthas wanders the frozen wilds of Northrend alone, slowly losing his sanity to Frostmourne's influence. Arthas returned to his home of Lordaeron months later, and, still hearing the whispers of Frostmourne, slaughters his own family in the throne room with the help of his two trusted captains, Falric and Marwyn. After killing off pretty much all the denizens of Lordaeron, Arthas returns to the burial site of his once trusted steed, Invincible, whose open grave you can visit in the World of Warcraft, by the way, at the Balnir farmstead. Anyway, with his new powers over death, Arthas raises his friend to be his mount once again. Now very much a Death Knight and servant to the Lich King, Arthas slew many of his former friends and allies, including Uther. He conquered Quel'Tha Lass and slew the future war chief of the Horde, Sylvanas, turning her into a banshee. He also fought the Elven King, Anasterion, but in the battle the old elf cut off Invincible's skeletal front legs, a mirror of what killed the horse in real life. This caused Arthas to kinda go nuts, demonstrating that he still cared about those closest to him, even though he's kind of a crazy, scary Death Knight now. Upon fusing with the soul of Ner'zhul to become the Lich King, Arthas carved out the heart from his own body, literally and figuratively killing his humanity. He also wrestled with the soul of Ner'zhul, either killing or suppressing the other half of the Lich King to become the more dominant force of the two. It is unclear exactly what became of Arthas or Ner'zhul's souls, and how much of the old Arthas is now present in the Lich King. Regardless, at long last, Arthas becomes the king he was always destined to be, though perhaps not the one that anyone expected. But hey, he drops some sweet loot if you kill him.
For when my days have come to an end, you shall be king.
Thanks for watching MojoPlays. Be sure to subscribe and click on the link in the description below to check out our suggestion page and vote on what content you'd like to see us cover next.